We love women so much we want to be one.
He's having a bloody laugh at. I mean, sorry, she.
Guys,
AGP, 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 AGP.
So the lady behind me wants Britain to be like Cuba, a communist state, and apparently everyone here agrees with it. Very interesting.
No, I can't give birth. Not yet. No, that might be coming.
Oh my god, dude, oh my god. If we twist medical science into a cruel vision of what we want, then maybe we'll be just like women. Oh my god. Keir Starmer called me gay. I'm not sure if you guys saw this, but Keir Starmer has weighed in on this latest trans thing, basically. Let's have a little look. Obviously, he had a very cucked position on it before, which, to be perfectly honest with you, was a product of the far lefties. And now he's had to chill out a little bit on the whole thing. Ooh! Uh-oh. Starmer does not believe trans women are women, number 10 says. Ooh. Prime Minister Keir Starmer does not believe transgender women are women, his official spokesman has said. It comes after the UK Supreme Court ruled last week that a woman is defined by biological sex under equalities law. In March 2022, when he was the leader of the opposition, Sir Keir told The Times that a woman is a female adult. And in addition to that, trans women are women, and that is not just my view, that is actually the law. There we go. That's rough, man. So he's completely changed on this because of the new law that's come through. Which, you know, I mean, obviously I'm a stormtrooper, so I obviously like Labour. So I'm going to be like, yep, fine. I've got no problem with that. But yeah, obviously, I asked if Zakia still believed that a trans woman was a woman. The PM's official spokesman said, no, the Supreme Court judgment was made clear. Hey!
Todd Howard mogging with another remake soon. We won't know release timeline because we also need an additional Oblivion special edition in a few years.
Indeed, for the next generation of consoles. Very true. Thank you for the super chats. And Skyrim, of course. And Skyrim. The Supreme Court judgment made it clear that when looking at the Equality Act, a woman is a biological woman. The spokesman added that is set out clearly by the court judgment. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch accused the government of having U-turned in reactions to the judgment, accusing Labour ministers of needing the Supreme Court to tell them what to think on the issue. Pressed over when the PM had changed his mind earlier, his spokesman insisted the Labour government have been consistent that single-sex spaces are protected in law. The ruling also makes clear that a person who is born male but identifies as a woman does not have the right to use spaces or services designated as for women only. Damn. The spokesman stressed the PM had repeatedly said that a woman is an adult female before the court judgment. I'm not sure about that. I remember a time, particularly a few years ago, when he was still, you know, trying to appeal to the wokies, that he was definitely more favourable to the trans kind of advocacy view of womanhood, that a trans woman is a woman. This feels dishonest. This feels quite dishonest, I think. This is dishonest. In 2023, Sir Keir told the Sunday Times that for 99.9% of women, of course they haven't got a penis. Oh my god, dude. Later that year, he told Radio 5 Live a woman is an adult female. And in April 2024, he said Rosie Duffield, who quit the party last year, was right to say that only women have a cervix, telling ITV, biologically, she is of course right about that. Anyway, that's, you know, so Keir Starmer has weighed in on this. Let's have a little look at this, though, before we get into the main event. I've got a little fun video here.
I plan to piss wherever I want, which is a women's bathroom, and I will continue to.
We're kind of all legally gay men again. Like,
Okay, but straight away, how can people not see how disgusting that sounds and how like wretched it sounds. Like you've got to, if you want to fucking like say something like that, you got to find a more sensitive way to put it across. We're still gonna piss in the woman's bathroom anyway.
I plan to piss wherever I want, which is the women's bathroom, and I will continue to.
We're kind of all legally gay men again. Like, isn't that crazy?
The UK has ruled what a woman is, after For Women Scotland won a legal battle that went all the way to the Supreme Court. It was unanimously decided that...
You worried about me being in your bathroom? Well, don't worry, I'm going to come in there and piss no matter what you think. Like, just have a more tact, have a bit more fucking tact, will you? You know? The strongest argument they've got is if they do pass well, then they can say, well, look, would you expect me to go into a men's toilet? That's probably the best angle that they've got on this, right? Because obviously at some point, it gets to a stage where it's like, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to start inspecting their genitals? Like, it gets a bit silly. But, you know, what is that a breast? Oh my God.
The word woman refers to biological sex, meaning women-only spaces must remain female.
What?
Only.
Oh, dude! Is this for real? Is that right? Dude, I don't trust any of these like style of content creators. Who is this guy? Is this the guy that I looked at the other day? Oh God, it's this guy again. Oh no, it's him. It's that guy that was kind of being all a bit, you know, annoying about the Birmingham stuff.
The decision sparked emergency protests across the country as trans rights activists say their rights are now under threat. So I went to find out why, but more importantly, what is a woman?
The liar.
Pregnant children be called women.
I hate being perceived as a man.
We love women so much we want to be one.
He's having a bloody laugh at. I mean, sorry, she. Apologies. She's having a laugh, isn't she? Just rocked up with a pair of fucking fake tits. Yeah, we love. I'm a woman. What the fuck, bro?
You know, you can't say more than that.
When does it come a point to say I am a woman? Hi guys, as you see behind me, there's a lot of trans rights activists out today. They've got their trans flags, their signs, we have always existed. So it's going to be quite a big protest today after the court ruled that woman means woman. Who would have thought? But apparently a lot of people aren't too happy about that, and that's why there's such a big crowd here today in London. Check it out. So we've got a lot of people turning out today. Why do you reckon most people are here?
To raise awareness for transgender visibility and to fight for our freedoms, to be acknowledged as the women that we are today.
Why do you believe...
Okay, that's sounds like there's some sort of vocal surgery that's occurred there, to be honest.
You're not being acknowledged, and what is a woman to you?
A woman is a woman who embodies femininity, who embodies strength, resilience to fascist and sexist misogyny, and that's exactly what we stand for as a trans community. What was your other question?
Why are you both here today?
Trans rights have been taken away from us, but not only that, women's rights have also been eroded by all this.
Well, they've said that this was for women's rights. Why do you think that trans rights are being eroded because of the new law, or the clarification in the law?
Clarification in the law allows cisgendered men to go into women's bathrooms unaccosted and say that they're trans men. And they can do what the hell they like in there.
Just so everyone knows, what is a cis man?
A cis man is someone that's identified as male at birth. That's not necessarily anything to do with his chromosomes, it's just his outward genitalia.
Okay. But like in I don't know what the percentage is, what was it, 99.9% of cases it's correct. This is such a retarded talking point, man. Right? This is such a retarded talking point.
Okay, that's wonderful. But how do I make money off depressed people?
Pro-trans protests taking place at the park today. In other unrelated news, an awful stench hangs over the park as well.
There you go, the super chats. The outward appearance has a pretty like a 99 point. I don't know the exact figure. I could be wrong on the exact figure, but it's like 99.9% match with what your chromosomes are. And chromosomal disorders and disorders of sexual development and whatnot, like, do exist, but they're exceptionally rare. And it's extremely rare that a doctor, when you're born, will observe a sex that doesn't turn out to be correct. In the vast majority of cases, the sex is observed as birth is a sex that you are and the sex that you will be. And those edge cases where you have DSDs and stuff like that, it starts to get complicated. But it's like any complicated medical issue that is a very fringe aspect of society. Yeah, it's complicated and it requires a specialist attention and treatment. But that doesn't mean that the vast majority of cases it isn't correct and your outward, features are linked to what your chromosomes are.
So his sex is male?
Yeah, but if somebody identifies as male and they were identified as male at birth, that's a cis man.
Does it bother you that trans women aren't allowed in women's spaces anymore, specifically women's bathrooms?
Yeah, it does. It's made my life more dangerous, and everybody else's life here more dangerous.
Yeah, no, I think, the term cisgender is a psyop because no other psych cohort has gotten to create a whole term for people who don't share their diagnosis. Actually, asylum jargon gone mainstream. Well, yeah, cisgender just means, like, normal. It just means, like, you, in your head, are comfortable and associate with the sex that you've been observed as having at birth, right? That's what cisgender means. Okay, well, that's just like 99% of people or whatever the figure is. I don't know how many... Yeah, okay, yeah, most people... The vast majority of people are not ever going to have to worry about this or think about this. Well, I think they wanted to come up with some sort of name in order to move away from the idea that you've got normal and abnormal. But I don't really buy into that nonsense, really. I use it sometimes, I'm not super bothered about, like, oh, I've got to use the exact right, whatever correct terminology to associate with each side. I'm just like, yeah, sure, whatever, I'll use it. But I do agree that it seems a bizarre concept that we're coming up with a term for the vast majority of people who are just normal in order to placate the feelings. Well, that's what I feel like it is, to placate the feelings of, like, trans people. But yeah.
Okay, that's wonderful. But how
I'm
do I make
transphobic, I
money
guess.
Off depressed people.
My favourite irony in this is that it's hard to distinguish the TERFs from the TRAs. It's truly a remarkable phenomenon to observe.
Yeah, there are some very masculine-looking lesos, that's for sure.
In what way?
The super chats.
If you see most of the trans men that are here, they've all got beards.
Right.
A lot of them are hench. They all take testosterone. They go to gyms. They'll go into a woman's bathroom, and as far as they're concerned, the husband will see a bloke with a big hairy bloke go into a woman's bathroom and go in there after him.
Right. So yours is kind of the flip side argument that trans men...
Well, yeah, but then... but then you've got the... Okay, that's fine, and I agree that passing presents an issue, but you flip that around, and then you've got a butch bloke who's saying they're a woman that's going into the fucking, the female toilet. Like, yeah, of course, that's the issue. That's the fundamental issue, for me at least, at the heart of all of this, is you have people who are not going to look the way they think they are, or want to believe they are, and then they go into a toilet and it causes like an immediate social issue.
They're now allowed in, like, women's spaces, but they are biologically female, right?
Nobody's talking about this. Absolutely nobody's talking about the fact that trans men exist. Trans men are just as vulnerable as trans women. It's all about trans women. You need to flip it. And women's rights have been eroded by J.K. Rowling. The first time a woman gets accosted or hurt in a woman's space is down to J.K. Rowling and her little hit mob. So, well done, J.K.
Absolutely.
You've absolutely screwed it for all women.
So I see you're signed J.K. Rowling with the Nazis. What's the kind of beef with J.K. Rowling?
She's a TERF, and she has been reported hanging out with neo-Nazis. Okay. And she is, basically making life difficult for a lot of trans people, everyone that's trans.
A lot of the confusion might be is that people may not understand what it means to be trans. So what do you think is the reason for people to become a trans woman or a trans man? As complex as it might be, if you were going to sum it up to some extent.
At the end of the day, we just feel like we're in the wrong body when we get born. Myself included, I felt I was in the wrong body. I now feel much more euphoric in being a woman.
I feel euphoric. Good for you, but that doesn't make you a fucking woman, does it? Bro, I feel euphoric when I win a game of Warzone. It doesn't mean I'm a good Call of Duty player, Come on now.
And at the end of the day, that's what being trans is.
What would you say is the most important issue maybe facing trans people?
Safety. Like, I think it shouldn't be hard for us to go out and about and have to worry about, being not allowed to do something or being attacked, but I'm afraid to travel through airports, which I do all the time now. Because apparently now you have to be searched by the gender person that you were born as. Like, that's so crazy and so unnecessary.
Right, so just to clarify, are you a biological man but you identify as a trans woman?
Yeah.
Okay, so how does he feel getting searched?
Hey, Malkaz, thank you. Thank you for the sub. Hope you're well. Appreciate that. Thank you.
By a man? Why would that be any different to, say, a woman searching you, or?
Well, I mean, I've been trans for 7 years now. I've always been searched by women. It's like kind of going backwards and subjecting myself to like sexual harassment almost. Like, I mean, I know that they follow protocols and whatever, but it's gross. Like, you wouldn't ask a born girl to do that. I don't know why we're being asked to do that.
The flip side of the argument is that now biological men, trans women, can't strip search women. Do you think that's a positive thing for women?
Wait, sorry, say that again.
So now the law also is the flip side, so biological men, so trans women, can't strip search female women.
Right.
Do you think that's a good thing?
I didn't know that was a massive issue. Like, how big is this issue really? Like, how many trans women work in airports?
Okay. Well, could you not apply the same argument to a person? How many times is a trans person going through airport security and then having to get searched? Right? I mean, it's the same thing. How can you use that logic for the issue B, but not for issue A, when it's the same? I would presume the same likelihood of that occurring, or similar likelihood. It's the same fucking logic. Well, how much of an issue is this? You can apply this to all the trans discourse, probably.
Yeah.
Like, there's just not that many trans people in theory.
Right. And you can also argue how many females are criminals that they do need to be strip searched, but at the same time, when it comes down to it, they might want to be searched by a man, not less than
it's such a minute issue. Like, it's really not as big as people make it be. Like, trans people make up such a small percent of the population.
Wow.
It's just something that is a hot topic right now. But
Okay.
like, I've never met any trans person that's ever been dangerous or uncomfortable. Like, it's just a tactic.
Well, the argument is that, women's space...
Well, in that case, maybe you could shut the hell up. Maybe you guys need to shut up for a bit. We're sick of hearing from you.
We kept women only for the safety of women. Do you not think that having trans women in women's spaces excluding them from women's spaces is protecting them at all?
No, it's a right-wing dog whistle. I've been in...
Oh my God. It's a right-wing dog whistle. It's not a right-wing dog whistle, though, is it? Yeah, sure, some fucking shitter on Twitter saying it could be, or something, I don't fucking know. But, like, there is a genuine question of concern over whether a trans person should be able to walk into a rape crisis centre that's full of raped women. There's a genuine question there. What if they look like a fella? Is that going to potentially be an issue? I just hate the complete denial of any reasonable concern about this, and it's all just like a right-wing dog whistle. When there clearly are genuine, reasonable concerns that people have raised. And it has been turned into like a political talking point and a cultural thing. But it doesn't mean there isn't some core, genuine issue that is worthy of some consideration,
Women's bathrooms, I've been invited to parties, I've had drinks bought for me, I've been invited out. I have never had any hassle. I've never even been argued with in a women's bathroom. Right-wing media that are promoting this thing that trans women are a danger to women, and we're not.
We love women so much we want to be one. You can't say more than that. I don't want to be a man, so I become trans.
But some people argue about what is a woman. So what is a woman to you guys?
AGP, 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 AGP. Sounds kind of creepy, doesn't it? Wow, we love women so much we want to become one. Well, you can't. Okay? You can twist God's cruel design as much as you desire, but you cannot become a woman. It is not possible. You can look a bit like a woman, maybe. I mean, this is obviously not really a good case study in that. You can look a bit like a woman. You can have some of the same features as a woman installed, like in a car. You cannot become a woman. That's not a thing.
No. That is a
or
gotcha
female,
question,
I should say.
so
I'm just curious.
No, I'm not answering that. No.
Wait, what are they not answering now?
Women are a danger to women, and we're not.
We love women so much we want to be one. You can't say more than that. I don't want to be a man, so I become trans.
But some people argue about what is a woman. So what is a woman to you guys?
That's a that is a gotcha question. So
I'm just curious.
No, I'm not answering that. No, that's a gotcha question.
A woman is...
Well, the thing is, it is a gotcha question. I do agree with that. I do agree with that. But then it is worthy of some... It's been asked as a gotcha question here. But what is a woman is a fundamental aspect of this conversation because it has been uncertain. And now the court has decided, well, a woman is a biological woman. You seem to have an issue with the court's determination. So what do you say a woman is?
Who she thinks she is. And that's all there is to it.
What?
A woman is who she thinks she is. And that's all there is to it, you know.
Okay. So, if I think I'm a woman, does that mean that I'm then a woman? If I shave my beard off and say I'm a woman, am I then a woman? If I get a couple of fake tits installed and say I'm a woman, am I a woman? Yes, a woman is someone who thinks they're a woman. Right? Is that circular? Is it?
There are women that want to be men, and there are men that want to be women. So you can't say what is a woman, because that is the individual person's ideology of what a woman is. And I want to be the best woman I can be.
We don't all look like the stereotypical image. We have very masculine-looking women who are cis, and they're going to be questioned going into bathrooms and things, and it's not going to be... It's going to affect all women.
Wait, so when you say cis women, they can also be biological men? Is that your argument, or...?
No. If just a cis woman who maybe has hormonal imbalance, facial hair...
Okay, but is biological...
Okay, sure, maybe that's a possibility, I guess. But generally speaking, cis women that have hair, the kind of hair that they have is not the kind of hair that a male would have. It's like little whiskery bits or something like that. It's exceptionally rare that you see a cis woman, a biological woman, who was born a woman, who has got like a beard like this, or a beard that a male would grow. Well, there have been a few instances where some masculine-looking woman has been like, oh, look, are they trans? So that has happened occasionally on social media. And if you are being honest on the pro-trans side, on the anti-trans side, you know, that you've got to accept that there are some people where it is going to be a bit confusing, right? And some of these butch lesbians do look a bit masculine. But, you know, this is why it's so annoying that this issue gets blown up and discussed on social media. This is something that will just often play out in a social setting on a much lower level. You know, and generally speaking, things are probably going to be okay. And if someone is a bit uncertain, one way or another, then there presumably are going to be, hopefully, be other facilities they can use. You know, like a single space toilet where you just go in and it doesn't matter what fucking shit's going on, you know? But yeah. But in any case, you know, I don't think that it's a legitimate concern to when people are saying, you know, I mean, there are some anti-trans people that argue that in the strongest possible terms, if you're biologically male, that's it, without any consideration of the way someone looks. But I think that more reasonable people are willing to accept that there are kind of edge cases where someone does look a certain way, and it is going to impact their ability to access, even if they're like a biological woman. And that's going to come down to whatever the social circumstances are at the time existing when that person walks into that toilet at that moment, you know? But yeah.
Female, yeah.
Would they want to be in a female space?
Yeah, because they're women.
That's fine then, no?
Yeah, but they will get stopped. People will stop them if they are not fitting that norm.
Okay.
And if they look, it's already happening.
People make that argument for like butch lesbians and things like that, but
absolutely. That's what I mean. It's so, you know, any woman going in, if you look slightly masculine.
It just feels like the whole toilet thing is like a bit of a distraction, really, because I don't really think that's the fundamental issue with this. Like the toilet thing is like, you know, it doesn't seem to be a particularly big part of this as much as people bang on about it. What I think is of more concern is the stuff about the rape crisis centres and shit like that. Like that's the stuff that I think has got some more merit to it. Because particularly in certain toilets where they're like massive and there's massive footfall, like you go to a shopping centre and there's like a massive toilet with loads of footfall. I mean, I tend not to spend much time. Maybe it's because I'm a man and it's different for men. But I don't know if women tend to spend much time looking at like, oh, what particular traits has this person got? Do they look like they could be male? It just feels like you just go for a piss and that's that. Maybe it's smaller situations where you got smaller toilets, like in a pub or something like that. Maybe it's an issue. But certainly for like larger places, I can't imagine it being a crazy deal. Prison and rape centres, that I think is the more important aspect of this. And that's where it starts to get a bit more, you know, serious and real. Like, someone is saying they're a trans woman, where do you put them? Do you take into consideration how long they've been transitioning for? What if they just say they're trans after they get caught? Like, you know, then people will say, oh, well, if they're a biological male, put them into a male prison. We're often presented with images of these, like, you know, masculine butch guys who have obviously, like, barely transitioned and have got beards. And it seems quite obvious that they should go in a male prison. But then if you've got some, like, you know, feminine-looking trans person, are they just going to be, like, red meat in a male prison? Do we need another solution for them? I don't know.
You're gonna. This whole ruling is opening it up that anyone can be stopped.
I think like half the time it is like common sense though, like to identify a woman. Like I think I'd get like 99% correct over here.
How do I make money off depression?
No, it doesn't make any difference.
Hey, ZM Punk, they give it $10. Yo, to you too.
For trans women, a trans woman is a woman, and if they want to use the toilet, then they're going to go into a cubicle, have a wee, come out, wash their hands, and go home. That's what the.
If they're trans and assault actual women, surely you put them in male prison. I think,
yeah.
Yeah, I reckon so. Yeah.
Good morning, Chud. Did you watch the Toronto Maple Leafs game? Hashtag the Leafs go. Maple Leaf emoji.
I can't say that I did. But thank you for the super chat nonetheless. Go Leafs, yeah. Woo! I mean, you know, if you've got a trans individual that has assaulted women, it seems like a terrible risk to put them in a female prison. So the only thing that I could think is you'd put them in a male prison in non-swing or something like that. Oh my god, I forgot to tell you guys, didn't I? I was speaking to Mumsy on the phone, and my son was there, the one who'd seen this thing about Jeffrey Dahmer, which he, you know, this YouTube thing, which he shouldn't have watched, but he had it on his tablet somehow, right? And my mum asked him, what did you learn about Jeffrey Dahmer then that you shouldn't have learned? And the first thing he said is, well, he was gay, so basically a pedo. Where the fuck did he learn that from? He didn't learn that from me. I never said anything like that to him. I was like, what? That's a bit much, isn't it? So I was like, oh god, you know. He was, you know, I was like, where'd you learn that from? He couldn't remember, but he's obviously got it from school or something, hasn't he? I've not taught him anything like that. I don't talk about that sort of stuff with him. Maybe he's been watching my streams. I don't realise. Anyway, and then I was obviously speaking to Mum about other stuff as well, right? You know, we often have a little chat about politics, as you know, right? And then she starts banging on about, like, Israel. She starts talking about the dancing Israelis. She asked me if I knew about the USS Liberty. This when the kids weren't there, to be fair. So, you know, they didn't have to hear this utter poison, okay? She said that she also claimed that Israel knew about 9/11. I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck? She is like, you know, and then she was going, yeah, I think it's disgusting the way that Israel has got all this influence in the West. You know, they've got, like, what is it, AIPAC, and then our government as well. They're very, you know, Israel and the Jews, they're all influenced. I was like, whoa. It skipped a generation. Yes, it has. It has. That's gonna be my kids when they're older. It was fucking insane, the shit she was saying. But yeah, that's what Mumsy had to say about current political affairs. But yeah, I'm worried about my son learning some of these very pernicious views saying that gay people equals pedo. I didn't, I just, And then they were doing the, oh my God, dude. They were doing the Chinaman thing as well. They were doing the Chinaman thing too. Oh, God. My son somewhere has picked up the Indian accent thing as well. He was doing like a fake Indian accent. I've not taught him that. Honestly, as much as I've not done anything with that. It must be at school. It's got to be somehow at school he's learning this shit because it's nothing to do with me, okay? I don't do that stuff in front of my kids, okay? I tell them to not do that stuff because it's like racist, Chud, I hope you destroy... I don't... Hopefully you understand. When you speak to your parents, you don't have a debate about politics. You might get backwards and forwards a bit, but it's not like a debate, is it? You just have a conversation about it. You just have like a relaxed conversation about it. You don't have... It's not super serious, is it? If my mother wants to believe a bunch of wacky shit about the Jews, then that's up to her at the end of the day, But yeah. Racism is genetic, possibly. Possibly.
Okay,
anyway, just wanted to update you on that.
How do I make money off depressed people?
Thank you very much for the £2, Blitz Raider. Son is watching Fuentes and Mum is watching Hassan. Yes, exactly.
What's the kind of argument then why trans women couldn't go into...
Do you remember the trans woman who sued when 16 women refused to wax his balls? Jessica Yaniv. Yes,
but how do
I do remember that.
Money off depressed people?
Can trans women still join the grooming gangs? Well, I don't know if there's many trans Muslims that are involved, but I guess so. Why not? Thank you for the super chat, Major Windy. He made an online comment saying how if young girls asked him how to use a tampon in the toilet, what he would do, but help.
Okay,
what would he do to help? Yeah.
But how do I make money off depressed people?
Brian Barrett Wilson became a member.
Thank you for the membership, Brian Barrett Wilson. Appreciate that. When we were banned from Twitter for misgendering him, this is why women needed this court ruling. Well, I mean, that story, Jessica Yaniv, Jonathan Yaniv, whatever the fuck their name is, was a litigious freak who would specifically go to waxing places that made it clear that they didn't want to do that kind of work and then kicked up a fuss about it. Right? And then they would try and take them to court for breaches of Canada's progressive legislation around discrimination over those natures. When, I mean, it seems fairly obvious to me that in amidst all of the measures to stop people being, oppressed or treated differently because of their identity, when it comes to intimate treatments like that, right, it should be completely reasonable that it can be genitalia based if you so wish, I mean, it can be anything based. I don't want to do that to you. That should be the end of it, right? What if someone came in and was acting all weird? You wouldn't want to do it to them, would you? Wax the balls bigger. That was the meme that came out. I'm supposed to leave here with my galls unwaxed? Yeah, exactly. But it's totally reasonable to have boundaries on that stuff. I mean, it's not like, rejecting someone for a coffee because they look ugly. That's obviously shitty. But when it comes to an intimate treatment, you're allowed to have boundaries and have things you don't want to do. And you should not be forced to do that. And I can't remember how that turned out, but if I recall correctly, I'm pretty sure that Yaniv lost, I believe. As far as I recall. But anyway.
A male bathroom or male space.
Have you seen trans women?
Yeah.
So, why would you want somebody that looks very feminine going into a man's bathroom?
Well, about that, we've seen a few in this video that don't quite fit your criteria.
Doesn't make sense. That's what doesn't make sense.
But they're biologically men, no?
No.
Do you think it will be difficult?
Okay, well, that's not really honest engagement with the point the person is making. Right? Because, sure, they're biological men, but the point that she's making is, but they look extremely feminine. So he's not really honestly engaging with what she's saying either, but just going with the biological men. I mean, yeah, this guy's obviously ideologically compromised and has got his own view on this. So he's obviously going there to, make them look stupid, basically.
To police and enforce.
Right, can you imagine there are butch lesbians out there that are now going to be accosted in toilets by other women saying, we want to check your genitalia.
There's only one way to police it: a hand down their bloody.
I mean,
throat.
to me, yeah, it's like, well, many don't. Many don't. You know, what about the ones that don't? Okay, so fine. Even if we accept that there's a certain feminine person that would have to go in because they look feminine enough, what about the ones that don't? What do we do about them? What if a guy with a full beard is trying to walk in? What do we do then?
How else can you do it?
Wait, what's
Can't
that?
have women saying, we want to check your genitalia.
There's only one way to police it: a hand down their bloody throat.
What? No? No, that's not the only way to police it. You police it based on your intuition. And, like, it's complicated. It's not straightforward. But that's about the best way that you could do it. You just look and think, oh, you know, do they look like a woman? If they do, great. If not, then yeah, maybe there's a problem.
How else can you do
They
it?
said put the hand down the front to check their genital. Basically, grab them by the balls. They're saying you need to grab them by the balls or the pussy to find out.
You can't assume that that's a woman because they got tits, because I've got tits.
Oh!
So the only way to prove it is a hand down the front.
Oh!
Is it lumpy or is it smooth? End of.
At the end of the day, I just think maybe we should just have unisex toilets.
The persecution complex, the belief these people would require a penis inspection to see that they're male. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, the only way we could possibly tell, there's no other way of assessing it because you've got a pair of fucking, you've got a bit of silicone shoved in your male chest.
And be done with, because we don't need exclusively female spaces or exclusively male spaces anyway.
You think you can trust the intuition of the average Joe? Well, yeah, because, you know, despite all the fucking thing around this, it doesn't really seem to be that much of an issue. Right? I mean, obviously, I don't know what the studies say about this, but, like, I can't think of any times we've been out in public and this has been a problem. Have you experienced this? Have you had a problem where someone's walked into a woman's toilet that looks like a bloke and you've had to handle it? I just don't think it's a particularly common occurrence. I just think, like, it's like life finds a way. We just kind of figure it out and it's okay, you know?
There's a reason why there's, male sports, female sports,
Okay, what's
doctors.
Spectres.
Thank you for the super chat.
Reason then?
Well, sports in particular?
Yeah.
Like, just the same reason why, men are typically faster, stronger than women.
Are they now? No, that's just your perception.
Okay, so...
What?
Yeah. Okay, but there's a reason why there's, male sports, female sports,
Okay, what's
doctors.
that reason then?
Well, sports in particular?
Yeah.
Like, just the same reason why, men are typically faster, stronger than women.
Are they now?
Yes.
No, that's just your perception.
Okay, so...
What? Okay, I mean, the problem I got with this is obviously she's a fucking retarded, like, cretin, right? She's obviously a total moron. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. So it's difficult for me to really... Yeah, she's an idiot, obviously. Doesn't know what she's talking about. But obviously she's being thrust in front of us as like, oh yeah, look, here's the, here's a trans... Look at what this weird, ugly freak is saying about all this. Look how stupid they are. But, well, I mean, the but is that obviously they are wrong. But of course they're wrong, because they're a total idiot. You know?
Let's say, for example, tennis. If Serena Williams faced, like, Rafa Nadal, who do you reckon would win?
Serena, of course.
I'm just
What?
being biased. Depends on the day. Okay.
What? No way! This beautiful woman rocks up to join into the debate. That is wild. Just pans over to this gorgeous woman.
Depends on the day. Serena Williams, Venus Williams could absolutely obliterate any male tennis player on the right day.
No.
Just because one's male, one's female.
That's wrong. You're just wrong about that. How could... Dude. Men are stronger and faster, and they've got better... I don't know all the fucking ins and outs of it. They have got, like, a better system set up at the highest level. These are people that have trained to the highest level of their ability. I mean, obviously, Serena Williams would fucking knock me about the place, but that's because I'm a fucking streamer sat here all day. But if you're, like, a top tennis player, a woman would not beat a man. That's ridiculous. That is absurd. We have tested it, have we?
That's wonderful.
When? What happened?
But how do I make money off depressed people?
Chud, stand please.
Thank you for the super chats. Unfortunately I can't because I'm obviously very aroused. That's the joke, isn't it? I'm massively aroused because all these trans hotties. Okay, this is an obvious troll. You clearly don't watch women's sports and have an archaic view on sports. Men and women have very similar physical abilities. Obvious, clear troll. Try harder next time, okay?
It doesn't matter. It's like recently you've had the lady who refused in the fencing. I'm sorry, but that's a completely gender-neutral sport. You'll have women and men go up against each other all the time. Women will win, men will win, youth will beat adult. So she takes a knee because she wants to make a political standpoint. She paid $5,000 by a right-wing Christian group because she made a standpoint. Sorry, she did that just for the financial gain.
With the UK now defining women by biological sex, transgender athletes may soon have to compete based on their birth sex.
Okay, hang on, this is retarded. This person was never... oh my god. This person isn't trans. The best argument that I understood of this is they've got a disorder of sexual development, not that they're a transgender individual.
Biological sex, transgender athletes may soon have to compete based on their birth sex. Just recently, the women's pool final in the UK was played out by 2 trans women, biologically male. It raised the question, had it gone too far?
I mean, yeah, I think from my understanding of it with pool, although it seems like something you would assume is like gender neutral and it doesn't have any advantage, I'm fairly certain that even down to like the aiming at the balls and stuff like that. Yes, the goals. Even the aiming has an impact. Your sex has an impact on that. But I don't know too much about it, so I can't comment on it too much, right? But yeah, apparently there's some sort of proof. I don't have any proof because I don't know much about it. That's just I read something about it. Okay. Yeah, something to do with hand-eye coordination or something. But don't take my word for it, because I'm not fucking an expert in this, obviously. Okay? I'm not saying this with certainty. What's this?
Well, who would it be?
Well, I don't know. Let's say you would be the...
I was hoping you'd say.
All right, feminine side. And me.
And you. Oh. Well, actually, it's funny because Andy Murray, he was been joking about myself and him playing a match, and I'm like, Andy, seriously, like, are you kidding me? Because for me, men's tennis and women's tennis are completely almost 2 separate sports. So I'm like, if I were to play Andy Murray, I would lose 6-0, 6-0, in 5 to 6 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, because no, it's true. It's true. It's a completely. It's a completely different sport. The men are a lot faster, and they serve harder, they hit harder. It's just a different game, and I love to play women's tennis, and I only want to play girls because I don't want to be embarrassed. I would not do the tour. I wouldn't do Billie Jean any justice. So Andy, stop it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let you kill me.
I'm with you when it comes to tennis. I only want to play girls.
Yeah.
We got that going on.
Right, there doesn't seem to be much research on this, but I could be, you know. I mean, I've seen people talk about the breaks in pool and stuff like that. You know, the idea being that maybe the strength of a break could have an impact. I don't know, because it's common sense. Well, I don't just want to go off common sense, okay? But if men have got like better hand-eye coordination and they've got more strength for a break and better hand-eye coordination for hitting certain shots and stuff like that, because it's a waste of time. Why don't we do mixed? Why don't we do mixed then? Why don't we have mixed pool tournaments? Why isn't that a thing? Why is there a distinctive league for women then? If it's all a wash. Same with chess. Why did they do it with chess as well? Doubles. Oh, is there a doubles league? Yeah, but I mean in normal. But then you've got a man and a woman, right? But then you've got a man and a woman on each team, so you've still got an equality there. No? Is there like a league that is just mixed and it's men against women in singles? I think being tall is an advantage in pool and arm length. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, being tall and arm length, sure. But then But then you could say, well, what if a woman has got the same arm length as a man? Or what if we've got a really short fella? Or something like that. I don't know. Listen, guys, okay? I don't know enough about this to comment firmly, okay? I'm literally throwing shit out there. I don't know enough about Paul. I literally don't know. I don't know what the actual biological realities are. Who's got an advantage, who hasn't got an advantage, okay? But I do understand why there's a concern when you've got a women's league, presumably so that women have got their time to shine in this sport, and then it's 2 trans women that get to the top of it. I can understand why that would be a concern, and questions would be asked about that. I completely get that.
He's a man, and we stand with living creatures.
Oh.
With most men, is that we are a threat to their masculinity. They don't like us because we've rejected the masculine side and going towards our female side. Now,
well, you probably need to do a better job of that, to be honest with you, because I'm still getting a lot of masculine energy from you.
you can imagine, if I walked into a bathroom looking like this, a men's toilets looking like this, I'm just asking for trouble. You know, it only takes one obnoxious idiot to dislike what I'm doing or what I'm...
What if a woman did that, though?
A woman wouldn't do it. End of. So why should I? So I've just used the female toilets down at Waterloo Station.
Okay, this is going to sound a bit mean, okay? But when someone has got like this kind of like twisted variation and you can't really tell you can tell what's going on, but they've got like breasts. Yeah, you're obviously presenting in a way that is, you know, antithetical to sort of social norms. And that probably is going to create some, you know, confusion. Like, I don't, you know, obviously it's like the face and the voice, male, but there are a pair of fake breasts which suggest female. Depends how baggy the jumper is on the day, I would say.
None of the women batted an eyelid when I walked in there. I've got no problem with going in the ladies' toilets. They've got no problem with me going in there. So I am not going to stop going in there. Unless one person, one woman in that toilet turns around to me and says...
What are you saying? Am I bricked up? I mean, I know it's a funny joke, but I mean, it just looks bizarre to me. This looks utterly bizarre. You've got this guy that looks like some fella that you'd see down the pub, you know, talk about the latest football results, and then they've got just this pair of fake tits, which looks completely out of place. It looks completely absurd, and just like they've had a pair of tits slapped on them.
Use another toilet, in which case I'll come out and I'll wait till she's done, and I'll go back in there and say, anyone else object to me using the lid?
I want discrimination rights, you know what I mean? Like, everyone else has discrimination rights. A gay guy can be a gay guy and be protected by that. Like, now we're kind of all legally gay men again. Like, isn't that crazy?
When trans kids are under attack, what do we do? Stand up, fight back.
That's Mr. Oh my god, dude.
When trans kids...
Who are these people? Mess with her, answer to me. Leave trans, my little sister, the F alone. Criminalizing identity is fascism.
Okay,
wait, what?
How do I make money off depressed
What?
Desk thumb.
Bro, when I studied the Second World War, I must have missed that part when they explained that part to me. Trans rights equals human rights. God, the overreaction to this is absolutely insane. Like, I get that it's a concerning time for trans people in some aspects. But they never fail to just take it to an absolute extreme.
Okay, that's wonderful.
And just take
But
it to
how do
these
I
bizarre
make money
places.
off depressed people.
Battle of these sexes in the 70s was a retired man versus top female player in tennis.
Thank you for the super chat. Oh, was that the movie they did about that? With that woman in? What's her name? Was that to do with that? Was it? I've not seen. I don't know about that. Who won?
Kids are under attack. What do we do? Stand up, fight back. When trans kids are under attack, what do we do? Stand up, fight back.
Oh, we've got the police.
Oh, the Rozzers.
What's going on there? So I
Here we
believe
go.
the protest is starting to move now. You see, you got a couple of trans flags over here. People are going to stay here, but some are also moving. A lot of people have told me that this kind of new law, or change in law, whatever you want to call it, will make it more difficult to identify who is a woman. But
how do people think they can change this by protest? Isn't there no appeal after the UK Supreme Court? Well, the point now is that this Supreme Court decision is interpretation of law that exists, right? And thank you to Major Windy for sending this. I had some sort of rough idea of this already, but he sent me some info about it. But basically, a new law could be put in place that would clear this up, that would, you know, not clear it up further. It would be a new piece of legislation that would enshrine a trans woman as a woman in equality law. But obviously, Labour aren't going to want to do that at the moment because that would be a massive boon to the populist right. Conservatives aren't obviously interested in doing something like that, and Reform definitely aren't interested in doing something like that, as small as they are at the moment. So there isn't any political will at the moment to do anything about this. They're just going to accept the results, and that's going to be that, you know? You need to have like a super progressive government come in, like the Greens or something like that, which isn't going to happen, in order to change the law to mean that trans women are actually biological, same as biological women in equality legislation.
If you just look around, I think it has been quite easy to tell who is who. I don't really see the confusion that they are talking about, but let's keep it going. Let's see what people have to say. Send all toast to Azkaban. Okay. Hey mate, just documenting the event here. Like your sign. What does it say?
Oh my god, dude. This person is clearly autistic. Okay, I disavow that comment, Johnny Yen, but thank you for the super chat.
Love being with my mother's daughter. So what's the reason for coming today?
It's a lovely day.
How do you feel about the new law that now women means female, biological female?
It's not going to stop me doing anything.
Where's the cops to arrest the protesters at this event?
Where's the cops to arrest the protesters? What do you mean? Like, well, that wouldn't be classified as severe enough. There's some language which could be bad, but not this, I don't think. Thank you for the super chat.
So,
but how autistic is this person?
It's not going to stop me doing anything.
Does it affect you before going into women's spaces, or does it bother you now that you have to go into a male space?
No. My life is going to continue as normal. Thank you.
Cool.
Have a good day.
No worries.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah, guys, as you can tell.
Thank you. Have a good day. Woman, by the way. Don't question that.
Doesn't really care if he goes into a women's space or a male space. It's what it is.
I think it's disgusting that trans women aren't being seen as real women. We go through the exact same thing that cis women do. My other reason is, as an intersex person of trans experience, where do you place me in the bathroom? I don't, you know, like I was born with different characteristics to an average trans woman. Where would you place me?
Yeah.
Are you going to put trans men in women's bathrooms? Is that what they want? It doesn't make any sense to me.
But by law, I think that's what's going to happen now, isn't it? I mean, what do you plan to do?
What do I plan to do? I plan to piss wherever I want, which is a women's bathroom, and I will continue to.
Yeah. Do you think it's just down to bathrooms, though? I mean, it could be other.
It's not just down to bathrooms.
See, this is the problem. The male energy off of that is wild. I'm just going to piss in the woman's toilet anyway. Just a complete lack of tact in engaging with this concept. You know, just consider a bit more and be a bit more cautious about how you're talking about this. You know. It's like you're giving some level of justification. The male energy is being like, I'm going to piss in a woman's toilet anyway, right? That's the issue. And the concern, as much as I've said, I don't think it's as big a deal as some people make it out to be. The concern for women is men are trying to get into our toilets unreasonably and unfairly, and then you act in like a very, you know, somewhat aggressive manner about the whole situation. Well, I'm going to piss in your toilet anyway. There's nothing you can stop me, bitch.
But I think bathrooms is the majority. The TERF's vote is bathrooms. I think that is the sacred space. It's crazy boots.
Well, one argument is that to do with actually women giving birth, and say if they asked for a female doctor, they could have a trans woman doctor.
Yes, this is the thing people need to get right. Males can piss much more aggressively than females can. Okay? Let's be real about this for a second, right? Men are able to piss in an attacking fashion that women just aren't really able to. You know what I'm saying by that, don't you? I don't need to explain further. Makes perfect sense, surely. You know? Men can piss on a wall with ease. Women can kind of piss on a wall, but not exactly, because they haven't got the same equipment. Right? They have to work a lot harder, and it's going to go everywhere.
Bricked up King's Rise.
Thank you for the Prime sub. Whereas if I see a wall, I can piss on that bad boy without thinking twice about it, even if I'm really drunk. Right? You get what I'm saying? Thank you for the Prime sub, by the way. Thank you.
Okay, is the doctor certified? Yes, they are. Does it matter? No, it doesn't.
To
Is
the
your baby
women?
going to come out? Yes, it's fine.
Yeah, of course.
Healthy baby, it's totally fine.
Yeah, I think it's more for the women's like preference, I guess.
I mean, great if you want to specify and say I want.
King Turd became a member. King Turd celebrates 11 months of membership. We have rifled your ethers.
Something like that, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the membership. Bathrooms are not a sacred space, but they're the first step of whether gender ID or sex matters more in law, so that's why people fight it. Enforcement will fail, but we care about the law's letter. Well, the thing is, and the reason it's focused on, is because it's the most common thing that's likely to come up, right? And that then flows into other topics.
That's wonderful. But how
so
do I
get
make
that.
money off depressed people?
Victor Burns, thank you with the Prime sub. Appreciate it. Hope you're well. Thank you. Because if a male is like, it feeds into the other topics, right? The other topics are more important, but it's like the first step of it. But yeah, I mean, obviously it is difficult to legislate in the real world day to day because it is going to be dependent on, you know, what someone looks like. But when it comes to something like prison, obviously they're going to know what the details are, what your sex is, and then it's going to obviously come into effect a lot more closely because it's like, well, we know that you're a male, we know you're female, etc., you know?
Want a cis doctor, then do that. But if you say I want a woman doctor, if a trans woman comes in, don't act mad.
Yeah, also, like, come on, let's be honest. Like, everyone who has been in the NHS, people in the NHS are absolute heroes.
Wow, look at that. So you got this trans woman and you got a clear homosexual that must be dating her, I'm guessing, right?
Off depressed people.
Chud, I have to disagree. When my girl pisses, it sounds like she's frying chicken. She's flat out a supper soaker.
Thank you for the $5, Bungus. Oh, wait, is that a trans man? Wow, you can always tell, except for me, I guess.
Out to get you, you know, trans people make up less than 0.5% of our population.
We have a lady writing on the bus.
Wow, really sticking it to the you know, the organisation that is most responsible for all of this, Transport for London. I'm glad we got Transport for London on the fucking hook for this shit.
I have nothing to worry about. I spoke with someone who worked for the NHS. I mean, the big argument against trans people was that case, I think it was in Darlington, where the women had to get changed in the cupboard. How do you feel about women's spaces and trans spaces? Do you think they should be allowed in them?
I mean, I think it's really strange because it's been happening for years and 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 years.
Okay, I can tell this one. This is definitely a trans man. This is a natal female that's taken testosterone and cut their breasts off. I think that's quite obvious, isn't it?
And there weren't any issues when people didn't know people were trans, whereas now that we're talking about it, people have issues. What I find really strange is people aren't talking about the amount.
Well, hold on. Also, traditionally, there was much more distinction between the different groups. And you had transsexuals who were making some sort of medical effort to transition, and then you had transvestites who were just men that dressed as women for sexual pleasure. And now that's all been collapsed into one. There is more issue because there's people out there who traditionally might have been referred to as a transvestite, but now they're accepted under the trans umbrella. And you can have a guy that looks like a total fella that's wearing a dress, and they've got to be accepted as trans in the same way now, from some people's perspective. So I just feel it's a bit dishonest to be like, well, it didn't used to be a problem. Well, yeah, but then there was a lot more distinction between these different groups, and now they've all been collapsed into one. So now people are a bit perturbed because you have people that do present as a lot more masculine whilst claiming to be a woman, and that is going to create more discomfort than, you know, someone who has gone through some sort of medical procedure, and, you know, that is obvious.
Of cisgender women harassing trans women in these spaces. It's becoming a bit of a problem, actually.
So by that you mean like biological females?
People who don't identify as trans.
Okay.
There's been a lot of situations with this. I'm sure you've heard about what happened up in Fife.
God, the voice.
Yeah, so a young lady didn't like that there was a trans woman in the changing rooms with her.
Okay.
So she decided to start harassing her colleagues. And obviously that's not really on.
Obviously we don't want that, but I guess now, like, by definition, there's a law now, I guess, to say that they're not allowed.
Is that what has been perceived?
I think that's the argument now, isn't it?
I think that's where the confusion is. I think that's why a lot of people have come out today, because that's not the case, is it?
Yeah, so what's your interpretation of it?
I think my interpretation of it is that applies to that part of the Equality Act, which is actually referring to women with wombs, I believe. But obviously, it depends on what kind of media you want to read, or whether you want to read the actual transcripts itself.
So if you like having a womb doesn't like define being a woman, basically.
I think it's difficult to understand when it comes to fertility care and maternity care.
Okay.
Obviously, it's relevant to people who are that. As someone who works for the NHS, I find it really uncomfortable when people say only women, because
big crowds.
I find it a little bit worrying, because I've looked after lots of people who are 9 years old and pregnant, and we don't want to call them women.
9 years
horrible,
old,
isn't it?
They're 9 and pregnant?
Yeah, it happens. And that's why when you start saying women, you're really throwing out a lot of people who that really doesn't apply to.
Bro, that is like such a deceptive, weaselly, disingenuous way of trying to present this, right? Because the issue has been pushed that, oh, well, when you say women, you're excluding trans men who have got wombs, and therefore we should use terms which are more accepting of them. And then when pressed on it, they're like, well, what about the kids? Yeah, that sounds fucking horrendous. And yeah, we should have some, allowance for that, or some consideration for that. But that isn't what the primary issue is that has been pushed by trans advocates. It is that it's about being inclusive of trans men. And now it's like, well, actually, when you say this, it excludes all the children that are pregnant. Was the child called Aisha by any chance? Okay. And also, I mean, that is like a crazy edge case, But it is true that people that are under the age of consent will be pregnant. And that's obviously a very difficult situation to deal with, for a multitude of reasons. And there should be allowance to talk about that and accept that in a certain way. But, I feel like they're dishonestly presenting that as a way of brute forcing the other point, which is that we need to be inclusive of trans men when we talk about these topics.
So do you think having a penis makes you less of a woman?
I don't think so. No, I don't think that those kind of things
affect
how you kind of exist in the world, really.
Well, there's, it's a super edge case, but I'm pretty sure that there's precocious puberty and stuff. I don't fucking know, dude. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of it, obviously. That's probably one case that happened because of some certain circumstances, but
I think there's certain things that affect certain people, but as soon as you start painting things with a kind of tar brush of this equals this, you start ignoring the nuance of our lives and our biology as well.
Yeah, I mean, if some people don't understand it, how can you explain it to everyone so everyone has
It's really tough. It is really tough. A woman without breasts is still a woman. So this is affecting not just transgender people, it's affecting everyone. And it really hurts me to see this because...
Well, yeah, a woman without breasts can be a woman, right? But then that's because breasts aren't determining. At some point they would have had breasts, or there's some sort of disorder that means they don't grow breasts, but they're still women, right? Whereas having a penis is a fundamental aspect of being male or being a man beyond a very edge case of a disorder of sexual development. Like, if you have a penis, you're a male. So I don't think that if you're a trans woman with a penis, you're the same as a woman that never had a penis. I think that's a different thing that's happening there. And again, even if you get this surgery, you're not creating a biological vagina. You're creating a simulacra of vagina from the flesh of the penis, right? It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing that you're dealing with.
I'm watching pregnant children be called women. I'm watching women choose to not undergo life-saving mastectomies because they're worried that, if I don't have breasts, I'm going to be less of a woman. That's not the case.
Bro, that's not because of the trans discourse. That's been a thing for fucking ever. Dude, I remember watching Nip Tuck 20 years ago, and one of the plot lines was this woman had breast cancer, and, she was worried about it. So she got her breast cut off, which is obviously horrible, and then she got surgery, and they did a little tattooed nipple on her to make up for it. Women's perception of their breasts and how it relates to their womanhood has been a thing for fucking years because it relates to the ability to feed children. It's not some fucking newfound thing because of trans people that this is a topic of discussion.
The longer the protest went on, the further I felt from finding out what a woman is. As you can hear behind me, a lot of the people are saying trans rights are human rights.
It's the same as if you got is cock cancer? what's it called? Testicular cancer. I mean, if you had to choose, you'd rather the balls than the shaft get removed, certainly. But that is something that has an impact on, you know, and one of the big campaigns that they had to do was like, if you got a fucking lump on your bollocks, go to the doctor. It doesn't make you less of a man. It doesn't make you less of a man to not have bollocks because you have to get them chopped out because of testicular cancer. You get it checked out. Like,
Okay, that's
pushing the idea
wonderful.
that it's masculine
But
to
how
get
do
it
I
looked
make
at.
money
You know?
off depressed people?
No BR East equals dude.
Thank you, G's for the super chats.
Obviously, all the people here have the same rights as a biological man or a biological woman, depending on their sex. But they feel they have their own rights, which aren't being listened to, or they don't have any. I have no idea, to be honest.
How do I make money off depressed
But we just entered this park.
Best thing about having a PP is sharing it with people who don't.
Okay, communist doggo. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Thank you.
I think this is where the protest is going to come to a standstill. So they've said that trans people make up about 1% of the population, but it seems like everyone who's in their community is actually here today. As you can see, it's pretty much filled this part of this park.
Must remember that the fight for trans rights is one and the same as the fight for a free Palestine.
You... Is it literally just impossible to escape? I honestly did not expect that. It is impossible to escape it, dude. You cannot get away from it, no matter what you're looking at, bro. You literally cannot make this shit up, bro. They're literally mentioning Palestine. Oh my god. No, I didn't expect a Palestine thing to come up. No.
For free healthcare for all, for decent housing. Our rights can only be secured by the defeat of the British capitalist state through socialist revolution.
Oh my god. Good luck with that.
This is proven daily by socialist Cuba, where trans liberation is no slogan,
Speaker's Corner,
but an
isn't it?
active process.
So the lady behind me wants Britain to be like Cuba, a communist state, and apparently everyone here agrees with it. Very interesting.
Okay, that was quite funny from him. That guy's quite biased, okay, but that was quite a funny little joke there. I enjoyed that.
So I see a sign, trans rights or human rights.
Ooh.
What's the reason behind the sign?
I mean, it's self-evident, it's so obvious. We're not just talking about rights for trans women here, we're talking about rights for cis women as well, non-binary people. Everyone who doesn't conform really is going to be harmed by the Supreme Court ruling.
I identify as a woman, and so if someone were to tell me, oh, well, then use the men's bathroom,
right,
that's very disrespectful. And
Right, so yeah, what do you say to those people who say, yeah, use the men's bathroom?
well, no.
They're going to stop me using the toilets that I feel comfortable in. This is like a tiny little stone at the top, rolling down and starting a possible avalanche.
Right. You said you go into women's spaces because you feel comfortable. What if that is at the expense of women who feel uncomfortable?
So women who feel uncomfortable with trans women are in the vast minority.
Okay.
The majority of women say they do not feel uncomfortable with trans women, but they do feel uncomfortable with, like, cis men.
You have to know there are some chasers here on the best night of their life. Yeah. Oh god. Imagine what that must be like. I couldn't even imagine.
The rates of sort of violence against women by trans women is the same as it is for women versus women. We are not men. We're just not like that.
I'm a woman. I don't exactly present myself in a masculine way. I'm not exactly, this isn't a drag act or anything. This is
Sure.
who I am.
Yeah.
I don't do it for the lull of it. I do it because I hate being perceived as a man.
Sure. So how do you make sure that you are a woman and you're not perceived as a man? What makes you the woman that you identify as?
Just in the way I present myself.
Also, I would wager.
But how do I make money?
Hey, King Rainbow, thank you for the
King
membership.
Rainbow became a member. King Rainbow celebrates 20 months of membership. Just clicked on the stream. Classic.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Classic
But how do I make
indeed. Thank
money
you.
off depressed people?
The smell must be wild.
Okay, that is very transphobic, but thank you for the super chats. Oh, look at that, we're nearly at the goal. That's amazing. Thank you for the support so far, guys. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. I think that women are quite agreeable. So I would wager that women that don't question it, there's a concern of agreeableness there. Are they accepting of it because they're genuinely like, yeah, no problem at all, or do they have concerns they don't want to mention it? I'm not really sure.
How do I make money off depressed?
Thank you for the super chats.
Can you please stand up for a moment?
We already had that joke, but thank you for the $5.
So I began my transition in 2021.
Okay.
And I've been presented female ever then, so it was a change in styles mainly. I think I grew my hair out and things like that.
So does it come to the clothing and style of hair at the end of the day?
That's not all of what makes a woman. A woman can be anything. There are so many different ways you can present
you hit the goal.
yourself.
Dude, why do they cut to what? Okay, why are they cutting to these people?
What makes a woman? A woman can be anything. Sure. There are so many different ways you can present.
Come on, man. Oh, look, they've even got that fucking trans shark thing. Look. I mean, you can listen. There's a 5 o'clock shadow. What are you? One of the big things of the trans movement of the past 10 years has been presenting us with increasingly absurd trans individuals who look more and more masculine as they go on, and seeing how we react to it. Oh, we got that one in. Let's try this next one that looks a bit more masculine once again.
How do I make money off depressed people?
Beautiful, romantic face emoji, starstruck emoji.
Thank you, Cheese G's, for the super chat. Well, the problem is like, yeah, there's an effort being made there, but the effort is like a bit like, you know, well, you can't really like. What is it they say? You can't turn an X into a Y. I don't know what the fucking phrase is.
Present yourself, but I don't see how I particularly am portraying myself as a man to the people who
they all look like Baldur's Gate characters. Yes.
Believe in systemic binaries.
So for you, you're doing as much as you can.
Some of these people look like I've just gone onto the Oblivion remake and just fucked about with the facial settings and as a laugh, and then it's like, right, that's what I'm going to look like in the game. Which, by the way, I'm not doing this Friday, okay? I'm going to craft the finest white male knight you've ever seen in your life.
Present yourself as a woman and be a woman, so therefore you are a woman.
Because that makes me feel happy.
But what makes you not a man if someone was going to argue that?
What makes me not a man is the fact that I'm a trans woman. I have always been a trans woman. It's not something I sort of like decided one day that I was going to be. It was something that I came to, you know, I came to...
Lovely meeting you there yesterday, sweetie. Your brony suit was very hot and dangly. So happy you also liked my SS chaps. Wow.
Okay, thank you for the super chat.
Understand about myself. It's always been the way that I have been.
Why trans before the women? Why not just women?
Because there has to be some delineation. Don't get me wrong.
Thank you,
I
Cheese
understand
G's.
where my biology started.
Okay.
And my gender is not in my biology. My gender is here in my head. It's in my personality. It's in my person.
Oh, another boring open-world RPG slop game that Chud will stream for 3 days and never finish because he's fucked off so far into the wilderness he can't find the point in continuing the story.
Cyrodiil's never looked more lifelike. Starstruck emoji.
Thank you, Pyro, for the $5. Well, DK, joke's on you, mate. I'm getting it for free because it's on the Xbox Game Pass, okay? So you're wrong on that point, for starters, all right? And secondly, I'll take the... I might buy the deluxe edition. I think it would probably be, what, a tenner to upgrade it if I've got the Game Pass? So, yeah. Maybe I should.
It's immutable. I can't change my gender. That's why I had to transition, because my dysphoria between where my gender is, where it is in my head, and the rest of me was totally different.
I am just a woman at the end of the day, but yes, I am a trans woman as well.
Right, so if you had to go into a male bathroom now or a male space now, how would that make you feel?
Bro, okay. Literally, why have this replay the old one? Because the old one is janky as all hell, and you need to mod the fuck out of it to get it to work properly. right? I played through it a couple of years ago, the OG vanilla version, and it was fucking ridiculous. It was absurd how janky it was. And, I mean, the new one's probably going to be worse, to be honest. Let's be real. It's Bethesda, but anyway. Like, the final boss didn't even work properly. Just say you're lazy then. Oh, you can either click a button and install Oblivion and have it play no problems with new graphics, or you've got to spend fucking 3 hours modding the hell out of it to make it function properly. Wow.
Wouldn't, because I'm not a man.
Okay.
If someone told me to, I wouldn't. Like, I'd just leave.
You just leave, okay.
Yeah. Because that's a space where they don't accept people like me. So why should I accept them?
Well, some countries have labelled gender dysphoria as a mental illness. Would you support that?
Well, yeah, some countries have, but then again, some countries still stigmatise gay people. You know, just because a country says it doesn't make it right. And yes, absolutely, for a long time it was considered a mental illness to be transgender. But then again, we moved on. We understood it better. You know, there were empirical studies. There were, you know...
Oh, that was it. I played the original Oblivion recently. And what's the name of the guy that's head of that cult that goes off into a portal? What's he called? You guys know what I'm talking about? You go into the portal and then you have to kill him. Yeah, Lucian the No, not Lucian the Chance. No. The other guy. Yes. Manka Cameron. Yes, Manka Cameron. Right? I had this absolutely ridiculous glitch where I went through the portal to that world. I got to where you're supposed to fight him. Okay. And he wasn't there. He just wasn't there at all. And so I looked it up online because there was earlier I'd noticed that he was there before you went through the portal. And so I was like, that's a bit weird, but I guess it's some glitch. Went through the portal, went there, and he wasn't there. And so I was literally hard stuck on this moment. You couldn't get past it. It was fucked. Game-breaking bug. And I looked it up online, and I had to reload an earlier save, and then I had to kill him before I went through the portal, which then kicked into the next part of the quest. So it just fucking completely ruined the game, basically. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that sort of thing, but apparently it's quite a common bug or something. But anyway. Anyway, guys. Yeah, I got glitched by Sham Glumpercol. Okay, whatever, dude.
Lots of trials about this. No one comes to this and goes, oh yeah, one day I'm just going to do this. It took me 10 years of my life to go from the start to the finish.
Right.
That's A, not a phase, and B, it's not something I do unseriously. It is a huge part of who I am, and I don't do it for anybody else.
Sure.
This is not for other people, other trans people, whatever. This is me. This is for me and myself only.
So now that you've transitioned, can you give birth?
No, I can't give birth. Okay. Not yet. No, that might be coming.
Oh my god, dude. Oh my god. If we twist medical science into a cruel vision of what we want, then maybe we'll be just like women. Oh my god. Oh, there was this thing, wasn't there? Oh yeah, they managed to get a fake womb, didn't they? And it gave birth to a child. Maybe if we stuff that in me, I'll be like a woman then.
They had the first baby of a transplanted womb recently. Who knows where that's going to take us? My experience of transitioning and realizing started 12 years ago or 13 years ago, but it took me a very long time before I started going, okay, this is the rest of my life.
But how do you know you're a woman now?
I know.
But is there something specific you have to look for, or is there a certain moment, something happened?
There is no one way to be a woman. There is, look at all the people here and tell me, that if there are any cis women specifically who go, okay, fair enough, that is a woman and this one is not, or something along those lines. It's not a specific thing. My womanhood is how I feel. It's how I identify.
Okay, sorry to stay on the Oblivion point for a second. Styler does raise a good point, okay? And I think what I can commit to is that I will do the main quest and maybe like the Dark Killer quest or something like that. Whatever they're called, okay? I'll maybe do like one extra side quest. Because otherwise I'll just end up doing a bunch of shit and never finishing the game. So maybe I can commit to that.
Okay, fair enough. I identify as that, but that's who I am. I am not a man.
Sure, so having a penis doesn't make you less of a woman?
No, it doesn't. And not having a penis doesn't make you any less of a man. Right. So, no.
So could I become a woman if I felt like becoming one like tomorrow?
No.
But you can become one. Why can't I?
Because this isn't a case of making a decision to be. Sorry, let me clarify that.
Well, how can you distinguish that? How can you distinguish someone in front of you saying I'm a woman, saying it because they feel like it, or because they want to do it?
5 o'clock shadow on these lovely ladies. They're all hot.
Yes, I agree. Thank you for the tip, man. She, thank you.
This isn't a case of anyone making a decision to be.
Yeah.
There are sort of trans women, I put them in sort of like inverted commas, who go, no, I'm just a man in a dress. No, they're not trans women. They are men in dresses living their lives as women. Fine. If they want to do that, that's fine. But they are the tiniest minority.
Well, what if I say I'm not a man in a dress and I wear a dress and put on makeup? When does it come a point to say I am a woman?
Well, it's got to be earnestly done. If you did...
Oh my god, these arguments suck, bro. How do you assess earnestness? How do you even start to figure that out? How is someone supposed to figure it out in the moment without knowing anything about the individual? As long as you're earnestly doing it. Well, you're completely undermining the entire concept of self-ID then. Because how can you determine earnestness? What? And also then, how do you fucking define that in law?
Okay, that's
how does that work?
But how do I make money off depressed people?
Why does this sound like 40-year-old Finster?
Because, spoiler alert, it basically is. Thank you for the super chat. I mean, to be honest with you, you could see this Finster looking a bit like this as you know, as the age beckons. Well, okay. From a self-ID perspective, yes. Well, that's the problem, though. The self-ID claim is that if you identify as a woman, you are a woman. But then they add all these provisos in, which are very difficult to figure out, like earnestness. How do you figure out whether someone or not is being earnest? Because then you would have to question them, and then does that not undermine the point, which is that if you self-ID, you can use the bathroom that you want, but then you're challenging someone on the basis of whether or not they truly self-ID enough. You know? Like, it just become a bit of a quagmire. And there aren't any straightforward answers, because even though you might say, well, if you're male, use the male bathroom, well, then what if someone does look like a woman? It does create a bit of complexity there, you know? But the self-ID stuff is just dead in the water, as far as I'm concerned, especially with this new law that's passed in the UK. This not the new law, the new decision about the law that's happened, you know? Because then they're saying it's not about earnestness. Like, you're a woman if you're a biological woman, not if you feel like one, self-ID as one, earnestly believe you are. In our legislation, you have to be a biological woman to attain the protections that a woman is entitled to in our law, you know? And trans women are a separate category who have some protection under the law, but not exactly the same as women because they're not actually women. Which seems like pretty reasonable, as much as I understand and I'm sympathetic towards people who are concerned about that. That seems to be the best way to kind of manage this from a legal perspective, you know?
Did it tomorrow and then decided not to be further down the line, like, it's a good faith or a bad faith thing.
Trans women was going to be yeeted. As far as I understand it, that's kind of been happening already.
But how do I make money off depressed people?
I had an odd dream where Chud's channel was being terminated, so for his final stream he hired an escort to reenact the Kama Sutra. Fully clothed BTW.
Thank you for the super chat. Don't spoil my final stream plans. Thank you for the super chat. But yeah. I can't remember what I was saying now.
To do. If you decided it tomorrow, there needs to be a bloody good reason why you were choosing to do that. And I don't mean like a bad faith one or sort of like one that is dangerous or criminal.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't do any of that sort of stuff. I just like I had to find myself.
Also, like, what if there's disagreement about how earnest you are? And then what if someone is being earnest, but you misunderstand it, and then you think they're not, and then you take action on the basis of that, and then you've just harmed a trans individual. Oh, man. Self-ID, but here's all these provisos that I've got in order for that to be correct.
And like I said, I did this for me. I didn't do this for any reasons. I just did it for me.
Well, what if I said this conversation between me and you inspired me to become a woman? Would that be enough reason to do so?
There would have to be a very good sort of like feeling for yourself.
In the end, who told you you are a woman in the end? Because like,
you dropped a video about copyright abuse about your arch nemesis Dark Viprow.
Oh, did he?
Wave incoming.
Thank you for the super chat. I mean, I wouldn't really consider Dark Viper my arch nemesis. I haven't really thought about that guy for a little while now. But yeah, maybe we'll check it out if it's interesting. Thank you for the super chat.
Like you said, you have to go through with it and you have to be dedicated to it. So
therapy, and a therapist suggested I try the label.
Okay.
And given that at that point I identified as a transvestite plus, which as far as I was concerned was a transvestite, but it was more than the clothes. When they suggested that to me, it made a lot of sense.
So
transvestite plus. Oh my god. Bro, why can't it be simple? Transsexuals are making some step along the way of medically transitioning. Transvestites either aren't or not interested in doing so, and they put on a woman's dress, but they've made no effort to change
But
it.
how do I make money?
That seems fairly reasonable.
I should be more explicit. This person mimics the
Why
same
did we change
speaking
that?
cadence and hand gestures to the point where I'd say they're a Finsta viewer.
They probably are. Okay, let's be real for a second, right? Some of these older trans hags, okay, they are going to be watching the younger trans individuals and are probably going to be getting aroused, living vicariously through their experiences with AGP. That is what is going to be happening there, I can assure you.
at the end of the day, to get clarification, like the seal of approval, it has to go through a therapist to become a woman.
I mean, that's a good idea.
Okay.
Like I said, this is ridiculously complex and very politicized and difficult medically and psychologically. Therapy is a very, very good idea to help you make a decision and to find yourself.
Yeah.
But at the same time, no one can tell you that sort of thing. You're gonna have to come to it on your own. And once again, it's not something you can, like, one day just go, having never thought about it previously, just go, ding. No one does that. Well, I've never met anybody who's done that.
But I still don't get it. How do you know, like, in the end, like, how do you know you've come to the point that it's womanhood or I'm a woman?
How do you know you've matured from being a boy to a man? How do you know that you've, changed one stage of your life and reached another?
Sure.
These things aren't arbitrary.
Because you've gone through puberty and have reached the age of majority that we've determined, generally speaking. Like, there is a societal element to it. Like, a man is someone who is technically 18, I guess. But, there is obviously a biological basis to that as well, which is the puberty part. I don't know, dude. I just think these arguments for self-ID are really retarded and have never really stacked up for me. There's always been massive holes in a lot of these points.
Defined in that particular sort of way.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, it would be lovely if it were. It would be so much easier. This could be so much more easily proved.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you look at where we are and what sort of effect we have on the world, essentially, we are the tiniest...
Well, no, this person is reasonable in terms of how they're presenting themselves. Wow.
Knights became a
Don't be
member.
like that.
Knights celebrates 6 months of membership. I just got here. What's Transvestite Plus and how much is it monthly?
Okay. You just got to cut your dick off. Thank you, Knights, for the membership. So the thing is they're happy to have a conversation, but the way that they're explaining it undermines their entire concept. How can you simultaneously have self-ID, but then there's all these subjective provisos that you were putting in place? Like, it's saying, right, well, self-ID. Well, okay, if I'm a woman tomorrow, what then? Oh, it needs to be in good faith. It needs to be, what was the word they used? There needs to be a genuineness to it that is somehow assessed. Well, that's not self-ID anymore, is it? Because your identity is being assessed by a third party. So it's not self-ID. So there is no such thing as self-ID if you've got all these provisos on. And then if you do say, well, no, I believe in self-ID. If you say you're a woman, then you're a woman. You then get to the, me saying I'm a woman and walking into a woman's toilet. What then? Like, it just doesn't really stack up when you think about it,
Portion.
Ernest,
We are
Ernest.
not a menace. We aren't a danger to anybody, except possibly ourselves occasionally.
Oh my god, dude. And they dropped the 41% meme.
Yet we are treated like criminals. We are treated like dangerous people when the facts literally do not support that theory. If they don't support that theory, you can't just throw that accusation at us and legislate us out of existence just because you had a bad feeling. That's bullshit.
So that was quite a long conversation with that trans woman man. Still don't understand how you actually become a woman. He said, I can't become a woman, so I don't know who told him he can become a woman. Still don't get it. Apparently you have to like dedicate your life to it. You can't just decide overnight. I don't know if there's like a woman god who summons everyone to become a woman, but yeah, apparently not. Therapist is one argument he mentioned. Yeah, very, very complicated, guys. The argument is that, you know, women spaces beget female.
What the fuck? Okay, this is a new version. Some sort of Muslim one, I'm guessing. Is that right?
Only. What's your argument to say that trans women should be in their spaces too?
Okay. If you switch around, so if you want female spaces and biological females, then
Mark
trans men are
Zuckerberg
going to come in your
Thanos became
spaces.
a member. Mark Zuckerberg
What is this?
Thanos celebrates 9 months of membership. Did the rally have a dilation station?
Presumably, yes. Thank you, Mark Zuckerberg Thanos. I'm guessing it did. Muslim Mickey Mouse. What is the voice as well? The weird voice.
You're going to think, trans men are not going to do nothing, but have you seen trans men?
I have, like, even here today, they're like, the proportion...
Like, you're going to let trans men come into your spaces?
But the proportion today have been trans women. Like, I'd like to see the stats on, like, the different, like, the, you know, how many are trans women, how many are trans men.
Yeah.
It seems like you don't see that many. Would you say that?
Sorry?
It seems like you don't see that many trans men. Would you say that?
I've seen, there's many trans men. I've come across like, a lot of trans men here.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not like, we're all like here together. Like, there's a group called Boys Against, like, Boys for Dolls.
Boys for Dolls? Okay.
You, I know.
Oh.
Nah, bye.
Oh.
Bye.
Okay, Jesus Christ. So it's just...
Honestly, as much as that person was a fucking weirdo, that was probably the best, most smartest thing I've seen all this whole video. Is know this guy is some sort of, like, you know, provocateur and just fuck off. Oh, listen, Mickey Mouse won that one, okay? Mickey Mouse won.
So I know you, and walks off. But yeah, I had no idea what half these people are banging on about today. Well, some guys on the drums, people are doing all sorts of stuff. Maybe she identifies as a bird. So basically this was just a protest, a trans protest against the law that now women means female. Obviously we've seen so many cases in the UK where people have been suspended from their jobs. I know there was a case with the NHS worker who was suspended by calling a trans woman a mister. I mean, how far was it going to go? But now, with these laws, people can have a bit of common sense and just say what they think. Don't steal our rights.
Okay,
so
that's wonderful.
Yeah, that's been the kind of message today, how people are feeling. They feel their rights are being taken, even though they have the same rights as their biological sex. Yeah, make it make sense.
Sorry, guys, I need a brief moment. I'm getting a bit excited, guys.
At this point, I was actually done filming for the day. Here I am literally filming a tree, a sign on the tree, but some people had a problem with that. You know, mate? What? So have you got a problem with me standing here? Just walking around in a public park? I don't think they had anything better to do, or they just thought they were superheroes with these flags.
What the? What on earth? Oh!
Even when I decide to sit down, they still follow me.
Hello.
Okay, circle time.
Oh my god, dude. Don't talk to
I'm just saying that you
cops.
can go somewhere else if you want to be filming me.
Bro, I despise this so much, dude. This don't talk to cops shit. Like, why would you not, like, dude, the cops are there to protect you and make sure that you're not going to get battered by a bunch of fucking, you know, anti-gays people or something. They're there to protect you as much as they're to make sure that you don't push things to an extreme and go crazy, right? Like, yeah, there's problems with the British police and speech, don't get me wrong. But it's such a cancerous mentality. Don't speak to the cops. The cops are out to get you.
There you go.
Oh, you guys have COVID?
Okay, he's got him there.
There we go, mate. So see ya.
Oh, he's folding the little thing in. He's He folded a little bit
He's a
in.
nasty man.
Oh, okay. So you know I'm a man?
He's a fascist.
He folded a little
Oh,
hole.
okay, yeah. Hi guys, so apparently I'm a fascist according to these guys here. Let me know in the comments, do you think it's normal to just follow someone around the park who you've never met or spoken to? So you guys my new mates? 4 new best friends. There we go, guys. Let's talk to Jesus. There we go. That might help. Come on. Come on, guys. Let's talk to you. Let's be kind. It's Easter weekend.
Oh, are they the anti-gay?
Oh, I love one, mate. Thank you. Alright, guys. So I'm getting walked out of the. There we go, mate. There we go, guys. I'm getting walked out of the trans rights activist protest. These guys have followed me all the way around. It's Easter weekend. People, promoting Christianity, but these guys don't want to listen. Left and right, health and safety.
They're literally
Continue
marching
to
them
stop
away.
me outside of the park.
What the
This is
fuck?
completely normal behaviour.
Still
There you go,
blocking
mate.
them.
Mate, I want to take a picture of all my mates. Nice
Bro,
portrait.
it's so funny how this person is like anti-cop, but they're acting like totally like a cop themselves. These are the same kinds of people that shot that black kid at Chaz, I'm telling you. Self-appointed cops that think they know best. Fuck off, dude.
Oh, hey, 1-0, 1-0. Where you going, mate? Come on.
I want hits. Upside down.
Oh.
Yeah, try it, mate.
That would be assault. Don't do that. Bro, this is like out of the protest now. This is like, oh my god, dude. A little anti-Labour message.
I'm actually confused. Are you actually with them? Or...
No, they just want to follow me around. Yeah, they just can't get enough of me today.
Okay.
He won.
Okay, that's wonderful.
For
He
past
won.
20 minutes, I'd say. Let's have a look. Yeah,
They got the
past
$2.
15, 20 minutes.
Do you guys want to talk to me?
Oh, this is
I mean, I know
coppers.
you say you don't want to talk to cops, but do you want to have a chat? Or...
Just,
Okay.
you just stood there in silence.
Because I'm a bit concerned, thinking, what's going on? Why this guy's of interest to you? Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine. Let me do the favour as well. That's fine. It's 3319 Charlie Oscar.
Bro, based copper. I must say, I do like it when coppers recognise the person's just a total shitter and they go overboard to, oh, okay, let me help you out. Let me turn my camera on. Let me tell you what my badge number is.
It's fine. You can take your videos. You can take your pictures. I'll take your video as well. So.
Bro, what is this copper doing? He's come over and he's like, right, what's going on here? Like, obviously he's trying to keep the peace. Like, what the fuck is wrong with that? He's totally reasonable.
We all take videos of each other. So yeah, I'm just trying to work out what's going on here.
Why are they following you around particularly, mate?
I was just asking questions today, and then they just randomly came up to me, and I don't know why. Maybe
Hello,
they got
hello,
something
hello.
Against me, they just want to follow me about. Yeah.
Sorry, say that again, sir? Oh, sorry, actually, I think about how do you want me to do it?
So I was just walking down this public pathway. They decided to just follow me down the public pathway as well.
Right.
Block me with their cardboard signs.
Okay.
And they will leave you at like X.
So you haven't done anything to them?
I haven't. Yeah, I don't know who they are.
Offensive.
No, and I got it all on camera. So.
Oh no! You haven't said anything offensive, have you?
Yeah. I mean, have I done anything wrong to you guys? No? Okay.
By this point, I believe you can walk on.
Oh.
Well, guys, I've spent some time at the trans rights activist protest. Obviously, everyone we spoke to wasn't too happy, and if you have opposing views, they'll call you a Nazi and a fascist. This is the aftermath of the protest. We've got graffiti on here, trans rights and human rights. He agrees.
Wow.
So now it's law here in the UK that woman means female. Obviously, the majority of people knew that already. Obviously, some don't, but then that was a clarification in the law. So this was London. This was a trans rights protest. I'll see you for the next one.
They can still identify as what you want. Man, dog, cat, woman.
Hey,
Do what you
based
want.
old man.
Yeah, just don't go into space if you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh look, fuck Trump. What's he got to do with it?
No idea. You get called a Nazi, a fascist, doesn't matter what.
Hey, based old
Cheers,
guy.
mate.
Great stuff.
Alright guys, so let's wrap it up here. This was London, the crazy trans rights activist protests. I'm getting a bit tired now, so let's head home. I'll see you for the next one.
I mean, it is a reasonable question. Like, what does Trump have to do with any of this? Like, Trump has literally nothing to do with it. In fact, one would argue that this is actually about, you know, our elected leaders respecting the decision of our Supreme Court. So, in fact, quite the opposite, you might say. But anyway, there we go. That was fun. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that, guys. That was fun. Bit of Gok tent to get us going this morning.